As we said off the top, President Obama making a surprise trip to Afghanistan yesterday to mark the first anniversary of Osama bin Laden's death and to sign a pact with Afghan President Hamid Karzai on the future of the U.S. presence as it relates to Afghanistan. We are in first position tonight with the very latest. President Obama traveled 14 hours to Kabul with a message.
Over the last 3 years, the tide has turned. We broke the Taliban's momentum. This time of war began in Afghanistan, and this is where it will end.
But less than 2 hours after his plane took off for home, a chilling reminder that the war still rages on. 6 people killed in a suicide attack in Kabul, 3 explosions followed by sporadic gunfire. The Taliban claimed responsibility through a spokesman. They said the attack, a direct response to President Obama's visit. It marked the first time a U.S. president has addressed the nation live from a war zone.
Here, in the pre-dawn darkness of Afghanistan, we can see the light of a new day on the horizon.
For security reasons, the trip was shrouded in secrecy. Air Force One landed at Bagram Air Force Base Tuesday evening under the cover of darkness. President Obama and Afghan President Hamid Karzai signed an agreement on the U.S. role there through 2024. But the deal, it is limited, not outlining any specific troop levels or funding after that point. There are roughly 88,000 U.S. combat troops in Afghanistan right now. All are scheduled to be home by the end of 2014. A senior administration official said the president wanted to send a message. Even after troops leave, the U.S. remains committed to the Afghan people.
As you stand up, you will not stand alone.
And for more now, we're very pleased to be joined by Long Island Congressman Peter King, who represents the 3rd District for nearly 20 years, and the congressman also serves as chairman of the House Homeland Security Department. Congressman, thanks for a few minutes. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, you heard the president last night. What was your reaction as it relates to our plans with Afghanistan going forward?
Well, first of all, as Commander-in-Chief, the president had the right to be there. I think anytime the president can be with the troops, it's a good sign. And it's very positive. As far as the agreement he signed, as far as the statement he made, it's really a statement of principles. It's an executive agreement. It's not a treaty, and it's somewhat vague. But I'm not that surprised by that at this stage. The details, the tough details, are going to come after negotiations, and certainly after the meeting with NATO, which is coming up in about 2 months. My concerns are that by giving a timeline to the Taliban, they know when we're getting out, and they can adjust their military plans accordingly. I'm also concerned that even though our troops are going to be staying in Afghanistan from 2014 to 2024, from 2014 to 2024, during the 10-year span, it's important, I think, that the American troops have the right to take what action in Afghanistan they believe is necessary. So all of this has to be worked out. That's going to be the tough negotiating, and those are the real concerns I have.
Well, that was my next question, which was, where do you think, is there a dividing line which says, wait a second, yes, we're going to have a troop drawdown here, but at the same end, what is it where we divide that this is our national interest, that we're going to either break up a plot here or, as you say, go after a terror enclave? Where does that line start and stop as it relates to national interest? Can anyone give an answer to that?
I don't think you can give a precise answer. That's why I want us to have the leeway. The reason I say that is I think that Afghanistan is in our national interest, because if the Taliban takes over again in Afghanistan, and they allow al-Qaeda to come back in. And we know from bin Laden's papers that there are close working relationships between al-Qaeda and the Taliban to this day. If that's the case, then Afghanistan will become a privileged sanctuary for al-Qaeda from which they could plan attacks against the United States. That's where Afghanistan is in our national interest. It's not necessarily in our interest that it be a perfectly democratic government, but most importantly for us is that al-Qaeda and the Taliban, especially al-Qaeda, are not allowed to obtain a base there.
You know the obvious next question, though. Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires. If we don't leave now, and we leave in 10 years, isn't it going to be the same old story? Unless we're there for in perpetuity, it's always going to be a hot mess. And sooner or later when we leave, we're going to be dealing with the same situation no matter what.
Yeah, I know it's the graveyard of empires, but we're not trying to create an empire. And what I want to do is be able to apply our national interests to a powerful enough force in Afghanistan that's in their national interest, the Taliban not come back. So that's what we're working for, not to make Afghanistan the 51st state or not to make it an American colony, but to be able to get a government in place that we can work with that agrees with us that the Taliban should be out. We just don't want the Taliban there because that'll bring back in Al-Qaeda. That's different from having an empire.
We know today's significance this week's in terms of the anniversary of Osama bin Laden's death, and we also know about some of the debate here about whether or not the president should be championing that in a political calendar year. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are somewhat mixed. I, from the start, gave President Obama tremendous credit for having the courage and the foresight, really, to give the decision, to give the okay to take out bin Laden. I know people that were in the Situation Room. I know that the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense thought it was too risky. So I give President Obama full credit for this. Where he's gone over the line, though, is somehow saying that he did it and Governor Romney wouldn't have done it. Then it becomes a political issue, and that's beneath the office of the president. As commander-in-chief, he's commander-in-chief of all the people. Really violates the dignity of the office of president. As far as I'm concerned, this was a combined effort. It was the efforts of the Bush administration, which started this process, which got much of the early intelligence that was needed. It was the SEAL Team 6 and others, which were so well trained under the Bush administration. So then you go into the Obama administration, and President Obama did all the right things. So to me, this is an American victory, but President Obama was there at the time, and he made the decision. Give him credit, but he's gone too far as trying to politicize the issue, especially by attacking his opponents.
Hey, Congressman, as always, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Thank you.